Kudia.
Here.
Blake.
Here.
Salto. Okay.
Okay, we all good?
Yeah.
Crystal, Trustee Soltal will not be with us. She will not be joining by attendance by means of other physical presence, and so I don't think we have anybody else who could, right? All right. So, communications and petitions, public comment.
No public comment.
No comment? Okay. Recognition of visitors, the Men's National Championship Bowling Team. And I'm assuming that's our Men's National Championship Bowling Team.
Yes,
Thank you
it
very much.
is.
All right.
Start with Dr. Pyer.
Good evening, thank you. And yes, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome Coach Tony Hall and the members of the Men's National Championship Bowling Team. Thank you very much. Yeah, tonight we have half our team here. The other half are actually working, which is a good thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But we have Caleb Dirks, Aiden Watts, Andrew Bell, and Charlie Hunt. Unable to be here was Austin Sawinski, Rylan Voiles, Clark Bonowell, and Solomon Johnson. So this year we were in Lansing, Michigan for the tournament, and we kind of ran away with it. Day one, we got up by over 400 pins, and we never looked back, which is a good thing. Sometimes it's fun to be close, but it was kind of fun to run away with it. So, it also made Darren know that on Friday night that we were passing him for total titles and bowling with 9 over softball's 8.
Yeah.
So if you see Darren, just remind him of that.
Yeah.
This was a young team. We only had 6 freshmen and 2 sophomores on the postseason roster. So very, very young team. So we have a good future ahead. The girls' side, we didn't have a full team this year, but right now we're sitting at 11 girls for next year's team. So we have maybe even a potential JV team on the girls' side next year.
And you said we won 2 championships?
What?
Did we win 2?
We won some of the minor categories, the doubles. What did we take in doubles, guys? Who was our high doubles team? You and Clark, what place was it? You took first. See, another win. Yeah, I think the big trophy's the big deal, but on that Friday when we were at that tournament, personal note, my second grandchild was born, Rhett Hall. So that was kind of a big deal to me. So that's all I got.
Oh, that's why you got me the shirt. Okay.
Oh.
Let's walk.
But I missed. Lose weight.
Keep that stretch.
Yeah, no kidding. I was bragging about you guys at the
Great
Illinois
job, guys.
College Trustees Association
Good.
meeting. So keep up, keep up the good work. It's right.
All these other schools why they're not adding bowling, I don't understand.
Damn.
There you go. Do we have any other visitors? Any?
No, sir.
They don't have to have won awards like these guys. Okay, all right. So we're going to recess to the Bond Issue Notification Act hearing. This is the Bond Notification Act hearing. We're going to conduct a public hearing concerning the intent of the Board of Trustees to sell not to exceed $7,900,000 funding bonds for the purpose of the working cash fund. All persons desiring to be heard will have the opportunity to present written or oral testimony with respect to the proposed bonds. And we're doing this for the purpose of increasing the working cash fund of the district. And Ellen, could you just, you're going to speak to it, or after we have? Yeah, if you just remind us before we go any further.
Sure. So the purpose of these bonds to increase the working cash bonds of the college on the $7.9 million is intended for the CL2 Classroom 2 project for the additional cost as we modified the scope of that project.
All right, so the proceeds of the working cash fund bonds will be transferred from the working cash fund and used for these capital projects. Are there any comments from the board concerning the proposed working cash fund bonds? Trustee Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have discussed this previously, so it's not like we're we haven't been thoughtful about this. This provides enough money to build a black box theater that's would pass with the ICCB rules and regulations, and also would be the best that we can do. And I liken this, spending this extra money now to the fact that we did not spend the money at the time of the construction of the health center, which increased the cost of a second elevator substantially, and we don't want to make this the same mistake here, and I will support this.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none. Is there any written testimony concerning the proposed working cash fund bonds to be read into the record? No? Did anybody have any questions at all on it? Okay. Thought Joe was raising his hand. Okay, I guess not. All right. Is there any public comment concerning the proposed working cash fund bonds? All right. Hearing none. All persons desiring to be heard have been given an opportunity to present oral and written testimony concerning the proposed working cash fund bonds. Can I have a motion to adjourn the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Nelson, seconded by Trojan. Roll call.
Nelson,
Aye.
Simpson,
Yes.
Trojan, Goldsmith, yes. Gorski,
Yes.
Padilla,
Yes.
Blake,
Yes.
motion carries.
I declare the motion carried and declare that the hearing has been adjourned. Okay, moving on to action item, oops, G, it looks like. Alrighty, sorry. All right, H, general presentations, sabbatical report.
Yes, we have Assistant Professor Mariah Nagy to present the sabbatical report. Apparently, we have an electrical gremlin tonight, and they're working on that. But do you have the PowerPoint itself, or are you comfortable?
I can pull it up on my computer.
Oh, I can, or
Do you want to use?
you can use, Dr., do you guys have yours? Okay.
Do you want to use the paper copy?
You have the paper copy?
Yeah.
Yes, we all have the paper copy.
If you're
I don't have
okay
the
with
paper
me,
copy.
just for
Yep.
reference, thank you so much.
It's that thick. You have to.
Well, I'm sorry that you won't get the visuals today. I do apologize to the audience for that. But for the Board of Trustees and all that are here, thank you so much. I'm here to report on my sabbatical, which was lovely, and what I did during my summer vacation, sabbatical, was some really important research, not only for our college, but for other area community colleges. So with that, I'm going to be presenting some findings from my research, some sort of next steps, how I'm going to use that research going forward to help benefit our college. So my dissertation research in the long term was the lived experiences of LGBTQIA+ science students in community college regarding their science identity and their sense of belonging. So before I speak more on that, I just want to say thank you so much to our sabbatical committee, who works hard to grant that sabbatical, to the Rock Valley College administration, who supported me throughout that, our board of trustees, my dean, Kim Blanchard, a really crucial role there, and the life sciences department here at the college. So what we know already is that for LGBTQIA+ community college students, specifically in the sciences, is that they have a low science identity and a low sense of belonging. And this is tracked nationally. My specific study is going to be addressing these for LGBTQIA+ students in community colleges in the sciences, which is a very understudied population. And so throughout the study, I was able to recruit 11 participants across 3 different area community colleges. And truly, this is really great because these community colleges in general are very understudied, so to get sort of a cross feel for the area. My study was mostly qualitative, so a lot of interviews, focus groups, having my participants create visual artifacts along with those interviews and focus groups. There are 4 major themes that emerged. I'm just going to summarize those themes for us. Apologies to the audience, the visuals for those are not present. But what I found from my participants is that they had a very strong and diverse sense of self. And that diverse sense of self was composed of things like their formative experiences. So whether they watched, Bill Nye the Science Guy or, figures like that during their childhood really made an impact on their drive to study science. Their internal identities of biological sex, gender, sexuality, their internal science identity, and other characteristics really help to form this identity. And then there are external characteristics of identity, such as biological sex, gender, race, ethnicity, disability, position, and status. And so what I'll just summarize there, specifically for science identity, which is one of my focuses, is that when asking the participants to describe, what they think a scientist is, they really provided a diversity of individuals, anywhere from an adult to a child, anywhere from a male to a female, and all ages in between, and all races. So my participants had a very, diverse sense of what a scientist is. Another major theme was their motivation for taking science courses. And hopefully I can speak to everyone as professors, we always want to know, why are students taking our courses? What is motivating them? Some things that came up were things such as, community college is really accessible. It's really affordable, and it's really helps them to reach their goals. The courses or topics available are still very diverse at the community college level. And they're very interested in science, so that's what helps to motivate them. But of course, as we know, there are things in science we are not so interested in. But what I say to that is it's important to know what you like and what you don't like about what you like, right? And of course, their future plans were talked about. And sort of a major takeaway, I had a visual here that was a word cloud or a word collage. And so in a word collage, the larger words are the most meaningful, or the ones that are most frequent. Prerequisite came up, so we know that community college is a stepping stone, but that's okay because that helps our students achieve their dreams. But also words like knowledge, interesting, interested. So that's really at the forefront of why our students are taking these courses. And some other themes along sense of belonging emerged. So feeling a sense of belonging. Why were students feeling that, or who was helping them feel that belonging in their settings in community college? And representation was really key to that. Instructors, curriculum, and student clubs or student organizations that represented LGBTQ LGBTQIA students were really powerful and impactful. People are really instrumental in creating safe spaces for these types of students. And then participants also provided advice for how to make it even more welcoming, which was great. But, you know, it's really important to emphasize that the LGBTQI community is still facing a lot of strife, a lot of difficulty. So another theme that emerged were, you know, students are not feeling a sense of belonging. And I think that's really worth focusing on. What was sort of driving that? Well, non-representation, whether that was from people themselves, faculty, peers, or even the science community. Or was it from curriculum? And this is an important thing for me to focus on as an instructor. You know, how does science curriculum perpetuate certain ideas that are anti-LGBTQIA+? It's really important for us to focus on. Students reported feelings of discomfort and even feelings of non-safety. So those are really important takeaways from our participants. There are some quotes here for non-representation. I'll just read them briefly. One participant, Jocelyn, said that their curriculum commented on gender. They said, I guess whenever you look at things so binary, obviously it gets lost in translation, that I also make sperm as a trans woman. So it's an important thing to think about in biology curriculum. How do we incorporate some of these ideas from the community? Apollo commented on how biological sex is taught very commonly in the sciences. And then the videos, they said, even that we were watching, it was only classified as X is female and Y is male. There was nothing else. And Apollo was an intersex individual, so this is a biological commonality that wasn't taught. Jasmine commented on how sexuality is often talked about in science. They said, or the argument that it is presented like you couldn't have done that without a man, though, or you couldn't have done that without the way biology is supposed to work. So it's really important to emphasize those comments from the participants because their words really do speak volumes. So just to sort of sum up some of those themes and how they connect back to science identity and sense of belonging, it's well known in the sciences that we need to foster science identity, not only to help with our students learning the material, but once science identity is fostered, that also brings along belonging. So you can really get a 2-for-1 here. If you foster one, the other could follow. And so it's really important to note that in this population, there are a lot of complications regarding science identity and sense of belonging still. What I would like to do is just mention how important my sabbatical was and how it aligns with our strategic plan. So just to reiterate that, my study found and addressed deficiencies in sense of belonging, which aligns with Plan Pillar 2, exceptional educational opportunities. And also there was alignment with finding inclusive course design ideas, aligning with Pillar 4, cultural excellence and belonging. And so it's important for everyone to know that moving forward, my takeaways are really helping to support that strategic plan. Just a few outcomes expected in the next few years. Of course, I love talking to people, so this is one of many talking engagements where I get to share research, and I really thank you for that opportunity. Another important thing that I would like to do is faculty workshops and staff workshops. I think there's a lot from the participants that we can bring to our teaching and administrative community. So I have a planned professional development day workshop as well. Some other things where I would love to continue my research. So I have applied to an NSF fellowship. Hopefully that will help support community college research in the future. So stay tuned. Hopefully I continue some of this work. And with that, I really do thank everyone. Hopefully without the visuals, it was still compelling. I'd love to take any questions you have.
Questions? Oh, I don't see one.
I wonder, 3 themes, sense of self, motivation, and sense of belonging. Could those themes also apply to non-LGBTQIA people?
Absolutely. I mean, these are characteristics that are applied to all groups of students in general, college students at four-year, college students at community college for sure. But this is a pretty understudied population. And what I will emphasize too is within that group, LGBTQI plus individuals, you have this convergence of culture and race and biological sex and all of these other factors. So you get this kind of collision of a sorts in that group where it's really hard to piece that apart, and we do have to kind of look at that community as a whole with respect to some of those characteristics. But absolutely, those characteristics are a standard applied to other college students, and the population I was studying is very understudied in those respects.
Isn't it true, I think, that the ones with the intellectual science have a left brain and the ones with the art have a right brain, or the other way around? I mean, isn't that part of the makeup of their orientation towards arts versus science?
So actually, that's a really common misunderstanding. The hemispheres of the brain biologically incline an individual to certain tasks, but not necessarily certain hobbies or certain outcomes. So whether or not you're inclined by way of which hemisphere you're working with, everyone learns to kind of balance that out throughout their life so that they're kind of taking from both of those sides of the hemisphere. Yeah, absolutely.
I think Bob's is picking on me because I'm a very bad scientist and a very bad actor, so.
No, that's okay.
Gloria.
I think it's easy for us to talk about it in those terms. Individuals that are more, creative in inclination versus, I would call myself a left brain person, to use that verbiage, because I like numbers, I really like structure, but I think we all kind of balance that out as we get older.
Gloria?
Yeah, would you consider 11 participants from 3 colleges a positive or a negative? I think what kind of comes to mind is that, are there still some people that are afraid to come out of the closet, as the saying goes?
Yes, absolutely. To speak to the first part, these types of qualitative studies, the range is between 9 and 15 individuals. So I wouldn't recruit more than that because of the in-depth interviews taking hours. So these types of studies would definitely have a smaller population, but absolutely to speak on that, it is important for us to remember that many individuals are very scared to self-identify as part of the community. And even in Illinois, where we're a fairly open and blue state, there is still legislation in the pipeline seeking to take away some of the rights of those individuals. So it absolutely would be reasonable to say that it's very difficult for some to self-identify. My particular number of individuals, I probably could have actually gotten more. I had more interest, but once you get everybody kind of committed to the interview structure, then it whittles down. So I think initially I had between 18 individuals that were interested, and then 11 that were kind of finally committed. So I didn't experience too much of that, but it is important to note that in other locations or areas, that's very possible. Absolutely.
Thank you. Any other questions? Well, I want to thank you for taking your time to present this to the board and taking your time to address an issue that's probably not appropriately or adequately, investigated. So thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you all. I really appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you again for that. Now we have the 2025 Rock Valley College Economic Impact Analysis.
Oh, this is really unstable tonight.
We're not stealing anything. It's all Lend-Lease. Okay, there you go.
Podium is unstable. Well,
Partly
it's
on-
not me, because I've leaned on it before and didn't do that.
I hope that's not a portent for the college.
No, I think it's just the podium. We're okay.
Okay.
right.
Good evening, trustees. I am here to present to you the Economic Impact Analysis Report. In your packet, you have the full report as well as a PowerPoint that is an even more summary of the executive summary with the graphs and some brief explanations. I would like to tie this report to two of our pillars in the strategic plan, although I could probably tie it to all four, but I'll focus on exceptional education and exceptional training as we're talking about return on investment for students who have gone through some exceptional learning opportunities at the college, and then how that also impacts the wider economic community. So we engaged in an iterative process with Region 1 Planning Council where we talked through what programs we'd like to study, what economic outcomes we'd like to study, and we exchanged some ideas. We provided some data for them to work with, and they provided then a summary report, and then we got to give feedback on that, and finally we got the final report. In your packet, you'll see all the data sources that were included, but I'd just like to highlight two of them. One is the post-secondary employment outcomes data set, which is a publicly available data set that looks at earnings 10 years after graduation and employment 10 years after graduation for categories of students. So it doesn't look program by program, but rather it categorizes our programs into groups so that you can compare across colleges. And then also the regional economic models, REMI software that is utilized, it allows you to provide inputs into an algorithm, and then that gives you the outputs, which we'll go over in a little bit of detail. The economic impact analysis looked at both the student return on investment and our regional economic impact, and I'll just highlight a few of the findings in each of those categories. The first finding has to do with a benefit cost ratio. So we look at the cumulative income a student earns after their program up to 10 years divided by the foregone income and their educational costs. So a foregone income would be what they would have earned if they would have gone out to work right after high school rather than spending time in college. And obviously educational costs includes things like tuition and fees. You want that number to be more than 1, so because that means that your income is greater than those costs. And our average ratio for the programs that were studied was 1.39. The ratio ranged from 0.95 to 1.78. Those on the lower end are programs that actually are designed to lead to further education or training. So it's not surprising that they would be close to 1. For example, the CNA program is really designed as a prerequisite for students who want to enter the nursing program, which then has a greater cost-benefit ratio. Those programs with the highest benefit cost ratio were those short-term certificates in engineering-related programs. So even though someone might make more money in like the associate's degree related to those programs, those in the short-term certificates, since we're only looking 10 years out, are making more money faster, and then eventually the others will probably catch up. So, and those programs cost less. So a lot of information goes into that number. Also, the Associate of Arts, Associate of Science are probably mid to bottom on the list, but again, those are designed for students to transfer, earn a bachelor's degree, and then the benefit cost ratio would be higher once they've earned that higher level of education. Also, the report looks at what we call excess income for alumni, and what that looks at is what our alumni as a group earn above what a group of individuals would have earned with just a high school diploma. And that excess income then can be spent on goods and services in the region. So that gives to the entire economy. And that, depending on the graduating class, ranged from 7.9 million to 11.4 million for the alumni cohorts that were studied. We also looked at the benefit of starting a program at Rock Valley and then transferring to a 4-year institution as compared to just going straight into a 4-year. Those students who start here and transfer to a 4-year public save about $32,000 on their education, And those students who start here and transfer to a four-year private save about $78,900. I was hoping to have big number words on the
Right.
board.
And the question before you go on, so are that savings just in tuition cost, or is that tuition and like interest payments on
Oh,
loans? and like?
it's tuition, room, and board.
Okay, but it's not any interest that
Not-
people might have borrowed the money to pay for it? So
You're
we're
right.
talking 40, 50 more $1,000 probably, so with the interest on it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Alarming. Sure. Also want to note that earning a GED at Rock Valley College does increase your earnings over time and also opens other educational pathways, so we studied that as well. Shifting then to the impact on the region, the RVC student body contributes over $100 million to the regional economy by spending money on things like tuition and fees, books and supplies, the costs of going to college. And we also looked at the attendance at RVC hosted events and what that brings into the region, and that was about $2.82 million, and that was just looking at our most highly attended events, and Starlight, of course, took a huge portion of that. So that's money being spent on tickets, and then they do some ripple effect analysis, so then people also go out to dinner. If they come from out of town for some events, a certain percentage stay in hotels, so it takes all of that into account. And then finally, putting inputs into the REMI model, we put in inputs of our capital investments, our spending on facilities maintenance and utilities, and also the number of people that we employ. And putting that into the model generates $130 million in gross domestic product, $96 million in regional personal income, 1,200 jobs, and adds 610 workers to the labor force. So we looked at that as kind of just our economic footprint at a baseline level, and then we added on downtown west, so what's the impact of building that campus? And you see two peaks when you look at that. There's a peak during the construction phase of the project, because we're spending money during that time period, and that impacts 10.9 million in industry output, 5.9 million in gross domestic product, and created 55 jobs. That's in a model. We didn't go count the people working at the construction site, but by putting the inputs into the model. And then the other peak happens when the campus opens and generates some positive economic activity in the region by more students attending, by us adding some positions there. And that output is 300 additional residents, 180 additional workers in the labor force, and 6 million in additional personal income. And then those things kind of taper out over time. That's the initial impact of opening. Are there any questions about that report?
I'm going to start with Trustee Blake. Any questions?
Yeah, I have one question.
Sure.
So in terms of, on the slide, the impact of earning a GED at RVC, is this for the excess cumulative earnings of GED graduates? So I noticed for someone who's 45 that's obtained their GED, they get an excess of $28,000. Does that have to do with their higher ability because of their age of getting like their GED?
If you get your GED earlier, you will, in your lifetime, make more. So the younger, is that what you're asking? So the younger age you earn your GED at opens opportunities earlier for more earnings over your lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gloria?
Yes, I was reading on page 5 on executive summary findings, and on the left hand, on the second paragraph, it says, in 2026, each graduating class from 2021 through 2025 has between income, and then the last sentence says that can be spent on goods and services in the region. And that triggers a thought, and it's like, is this like what it would generate now? Because I'm thinking, do we have anything, I mean, and this goes back even to kindergarten through now, about any financial literacy? Because even though this income is based on their working, labor, or whatever, whether it's a heart surgeon or a mechanic, do we teach anybody about generating wealth or generational wealth for the future? I mean, it's like, I don't often hear about teaching these young people how to save money, how to invest, how to prepare for the future and for future generations. Do we have anything like that here?
I know Dr. Barnes did I'd call it more of a pilot program with, I think, some grant funds where he had a financial literacy program. But I don't think that's continued beyond that. I'm looking around to see if anybody.
No, not that I'm aware. I know the high schools have the personal finance classes that they teach, and I don't know that we teach personal finance. We may in business, but I'm not aware of that off the top. No, we have the accounting classes, the marketing classes, but you're asking about life skills and personal finances, correct?
Yes, and
I'm not,
part of it too.
not sure of that specific class.
Right, because, I mean, we're talking about as they're working and the income that they generate and the impact they have on the economy, which is great. It's like, but again, here we go about spending on goods and services, which is fine. But again, if we spend all our money, there is so much poverty. What role are we playing? I mean, I'm retired now, and I'm comfortable, but how many retirees are not? Because, I mean, they had great jobs in everything, but so I guess I'm just curious as to, I mean, I love this, but to me, as I was telling Dr. Spearman when I picked up my packet, I was reading all of this, and but the slogan or the tagline that came to mind is that education is the bridge to economic power, economic prosperity. But is that just while we're working, while we're, you know, putting labor in? Or when do we get to the point where we teach our young people, let your money work for you that you've brought in? Sure, you had a GED and you earned, you know, $50,000 a year, but you get a, you know, associates, and now you get $100,000 a year or whatever. And it's like, how much of that do you keep? So that's another discussion, but I guess I'm just throwing that seed out. So, thank you.
Thank you.
To Gloria's question, has there been any discussions, kind of like a best bang for your buck type of life skills type of?
I know a lot of our grant-funded programs have, I don't know if I'd call them life skills, but they have coaches that help students through those programs, like how to pay for college, you know, navigating programs like that. Anything else?
The reason I bring it up, because we encourage people, and you just did in your presentation, to come here because it's a good economic investment for yourself, you know, and to make the best out of, once you get your degree and you go into the workforce, to make the best bang, you know, for your buck, and what the next steps would be. And I know that isn't necessarily, it's not even, you know, it's not trade, it's not industry specific, it's just, Gloria was saying, kind of basic management. And they may offer it in high school. They may even offer it in grade schools, but it doesn't hurt to remind people, because that type of stuff is always changing. For example, students that's 27, 28 now they may not have covered like Bitcoin and that type of cryptocurrency, and whether or not that's a decent investment with your money, and like when they were in early high school years or something like that. Stuff is moving so fast, so just wondering.
Well, thank you.
Jenna. Bob.
On page 12, the economic impact by a student. Looking at the housing and food, $50 million. So if we have roughly 6,000 students, that works out to be about $8,000 per student. How is it that we're spending that much money for housing when we don't have any housing?
So, I know, that's a good question. When we have to report the cost of attendance to iPads, we have to estimate the amount of money students spend on housing and food. And there's two different ways you estimate that, one for residential students and one for non-residential students. Obviously, all of ours are commuter students. So this is how much our students spend on housing and food, even though they don't live on campus. And that's included in the government's calculation of cost of attendance for any student.
So if the student lives at home, you're counting some kind of housing money?
Correct.
So what if the student didn't go to school, but he still lived at home?
They would still spend money on housing and food.
But not as an impact for Rock Valley College. See what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I didn't see what you're getting at.
I don't want to belabor it anymore.
No, I understand.
It's government. It doesn't have to make sense.
Well, you know,
Sadly.
it's wonderful that our impact is what it is, but I can always challenge the numbers and the methodology too.
Well,
But that's
suffice
okay.
to say, we're an economic engine for the.
I'll go for it. Hey, I'm carrying the flag, no problem.
No, that's probably not the one we're focused on either, so.
Kristen?
I mean, I was just going to comment on the numbers for the public and the private, and I know there's a lot of factors that go into this, but for students that don't qualify for any financial aid, I believe those numbers would be a lot higher, just, you know. I'm thinking for public school, if a person does not qualify for financial aid, you're probably saving them at least 50, if not more, thousand over, you know, coming from here to, and for private, it's even.
Right, and that did not account for any financial aid, those,
Oh, it did not? 'Cause
that does not
disagree with-
account
I think
for
those numbers
financial
are
aid.
Way higher than. In fact, I know for a fact those numbers are way higher.
I think Kristen's saying she has personal experience in this regard, so.
I'm just saying we have a crisis in this country, and I'm going in May because Rock Valley doesn't, we're going off subject. The whole baccalaureate thing, I was not sure about it, but now I am all for it.
The baccalaureate thing?
So send me in May.
Okay,
yes.
all right.
To lobby day. Anyway,
Lobby day.
sorry.
John? Any questions?
Just to briefly answer Bob's comment about people living at home, you know, parents, as you know, Bob, are different, and some parents, once the kid turns 18, they'll charge them rent, which is, if they can afford to pay it, it's a good thing. But for us, we always believed in paying our kids undergraduate cost of education, and then after that, they were on their own. But that was our philosophy and what we could afford, and I'm sure that it would be much more difficult, and probably that's why they have formulas for calculating this stuff. And I'm guessing it might have something to do with state aid and that kind of thing is what I think, but I don't know. That's it.
Thank you. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions? Nope. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Heather.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the meetings of both February 10th, 2026 Committee of the Whole and the February 24th, 2026 regular board meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Kadia, seconded by
Second.
Trustee Trojan. Roll call.
Nelson?
Yes.
Goldsmith, yes. Simpson?
Yes.
Dia?
Yes.
Trojan?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
Gorski?
Yes. I'd entertain a motion to approve claim sheet check register February 2026 BR 8360.
So moved.
Moved by Trojan, seconded by
Second.
Blake. Any discussion? Any comments? Anything that you hidden here that we should really know about that we didn't look for? Okay. You think I'm joking. Now you're on record of saying no. All right, roll call.
Nelson?
Yes.
Goldsmith, yes. Simpson?
Yes.
Kudia?
Yes.
Trojan?
Yeah.
Blake?
Yes.
Gorski?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Motion, I'd entertain a motion to approve Purchase Report A, FY 2026 amendments, BR 8361-A. Motion? Anyone?
So moved.
Motion
Seconded.
by Kadia, seconded by Blake. Any discussion? Any comments? Any changes?
Yes, there was one change. There was an addition, item C, to Demonica Kemper Architects, or DKA, to increase of $2,700 to cover additional professional services for the downtown campus. So DKA performed their contractually obligated reviews of sheet metal submittals an additional review was necessary to ensure clarity and understanding of all parties. So this increase is needed to cover the additional review for those documents.
And just to refresh everybody's memory, the key word is a submittal, which during the process, we had discussed at least once, if not twice previously. Gloria and I pre-approved the 2,700, and we expect maybe another one to come through?
Yes.
All right, but for right now, so it'll be presented in the same format the next time it comes through?
Yes, we'll make sure you're aware, and then we'll make the amendment.
Okay, I'm just saying, that we see the original amount, the amount we've already previously requested, the 260,000, which was a negotiated amount, and then 2,700, now we have the new total expenditure. All right. Hearing no other questions, roll call.
Nelson,
Reluctant, yes?
Goldsmith, yes. Simpson,
Yes.
Kudia,
Yes.
Brogan,
Yes.
Blake,
Yes.
Gorski.
Yes. Hey, excuse me. Entertain a motion, approve purchase report B, FY 2026 purchases BR 8361-B.
So moved.
I'll second, but I have a question.
Motion by Trojan, seconded by Nelson, and trustee Nelson would like to speak to it.
In terms of the downtown west technology bid, I think we talked about this at the our CAL meeting, and I'm not sure that I got a definitive answer. I think I got an answer I really didn't agree with as a board member, but I would sure like to amend purchase report B, that's the one we're on, right? And have Entree Computer Solutions get the bid if it's legally possible.
That motion's out of order because we don't have the legal authority to, when it goes out for bid, if it was a quote for some technology, we could. But since it's a bid item, we can't necessarily go out, and we have to go with the lowest bidder. And I'd like to have Joe speak to that. Yeah, we've attempted that in the past, and then on further review, I think we found case law that's clearly stated that we had to go with the lowest bidder. And even though it was just a few dollars, we had to go with the, other cases had to go with the lowest bidder. We've looked at this in the past on smaller amounts and stuff, and I think budgeted it once or twice. But unless you have case law to support your position, trustee Nelson, I consider the motion out of order. Not that I wouldn't love to give that type of work to a local company.
All right, I'll see if I can find
Especially
some
a
case law.
partner with the college, too. So Entree's a good partner.
Yeah.
But, all right. Any other discussions on purchase report B? Hearing none. Roll call.
Nelson,
Yes.
Goldsmith, yes. Simpson,
Yes.
Kudia,
Yes.
Brogan,
Yes.
Blake,
Yes.
Gorski.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, have we been able to get a used aircraft, or is our plan still to just have the 91,000 available for quick purchase?
You don't have a source.
They have not identified an aircraft specifically. They're on the trail of one, which the 91,000 will be sufficient to cover the cost of that.
I think, and maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, I think trustee Nelson and I both like to see vendors and stuff like that in addition to dollar amounts. But it's in the budget. You've got the money for it. You don't have to ask for any special money or anything. You've got it. So I'm more comfortable with it that way. So how long do you think it'll take to find the product?
Like I said, I heard that they have identified one that is exactly what they're looking for. Actually might be in the state of Illinois even. So it looks like they'll move quickly on it.
Within the price range that we're voting on today?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Send a truck out, Hanson, and pick it up.
Push, pull, or drag. There you go. All right, no other questions? We haven't voted on it yet, or did we just did, right? Yeah, so, okay, very good. All right, let's move on to approve the revised memorandum of understanding with the RBC Foundation, BR 8362.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Trojan, seconded by Nelson. Would anybody like to speak to it?
Yes, just brief. I believe in the original one, if you look at paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we put down the date of January 27, 2025, and it was supposed to be January 27, 2026. Just a, what do we call it, Scrivener's error, but I still want to identify it so you are aware it is correct on within the Eagles book that you would sign, but we didn't want to change it in the board packet because we cannot.
Any other questions? Comments? Any other changes? Okay. Okay, roll call.
Nelson,
Yes.
Goldsmith, yes. Simpson,
Yes.
Udea,
Yes.
Trojan,
Yes.
Blake,
Yes.
Gorski,
Yes.
carries.
Board Policy Manual Update, Article 3, Human Resources. This is a first reading for BR 8363. Second reading will be
April?
next month.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Authorization to pursue, there's no action on it, just a first reading, so. Authorization to proceed with architectural and design estimation for artificial intelligence and virtual reality centers, BR 8364. And this is, let's speak to it. So let's, do I entertain a motion? Do I hear a motion?
This is just to attempt to get a grant.
Let's get a motion in a second, then we can speak to it.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Blake, Kadia, first and second. Now we can speak to it. Trustee Nelson.
As I understand it, what we're voting for now is the authority to try to get a grant for this particular topic and
Right.
nothing more, right?
Right, and there's some cost involved in applying for the grant, and this is to approve those costs, right?
Yes, because we needed permission for the architectural design that we want to submit with the grant. That way, we're all on the same page what we're potentially requesting if the grant gets approved. So this is being more proactive on the front end versus waiting till we get it and then try to convince you that this is the right thing to do.
So presuming you prepare some architectural drawings, you must then presume to know what's going in it,
Part of the piece that we're working on.
right?
Yes,
It's part of the grant application.
Yeah,
correct.
And the grant application probably doesn't have detailed specifications, but general concepts and the like along with the space, because it's not necessarily a teaching grant, it is capital grant.
Capital grant.
It's for the space itself.
Capital grant.
And the only way we could build in the equipment is to connect it to the space.
Correct.
So that's why we have to do it that way.
Right. Any other questions on that? I think it's a worthwhile endeavor. Thank you very much. Roll call.
Nelson,
Yes.
Goldsmith, yes. Simpson,
Yes.
Udea,
Yes.
Trojan,
Yes.
Blake,
Yes.
Gorski,
Yes.
motion carries.
And usually the end of the front sheet is the end of the meeting, so can we just leave? No, we gotta go in the back here. Okay, other business, new business.
We do have new business. I want to pass it over to Vice President Olson to speak to our TIF scenario.
Correct. So the college was made aware of a public hearing from the city of Rockford that's going to be held on May 11th at 5:30 p.m. regarding a TIF in the area where we expect that a dentist center may be built. Preceding the public hearing, the designated taxing districts are encouraged to attend the joint board of review meeting scheduled for March 31st at 10 a.m., which the college will be attending. You were sent an email that summarized the proposed TIF development plan. The EAV is frozen during the duration of the TIF, so no tax dollars will be lost. and the administration is in support of this particular TIF, but we wanted the board to weigh in to make sure that this is the direction you would like the college to go in. This TIF is located, it is the South Rockford Industrial TIF, and it is down south of the Chicago Rockford International Airport. And the TIF will be for 23 years. Are there any questions?
Questions, comments? I'll start with Trustee Kadia.
Yeah, I just overlooked. What is going to be built?
We anticipate a data center will be built on
Oh,
that.
a data center, okay.
Yeah, they're creating a
Data
district to entice a data center here, but it's not a done deal. Okay.
Yeah. And our EAV will, our taxes will remain the same for, what, 20 years?
Right,
23.
For 23 years.
23.
22 years.
Which
We don't
means
lose
we won't capture any taxes that we may have gotten from the improvement of that property. So, Trustee Nelson.
My institutional memory seems to tell me that we've never favored being part of a TIF district before. Am I wrong about that?
It was not a TIF district, but we have supported the Rockford Park District in a different endeavor regarding the former Magic Waters property.
The what property?
Former Magic Waters.
Okay. So if it wasn't a TIF, what was it?
It was an abatement of taxes. If a tax exempt body leases property to a or I should say a public entity,
Yeah.
then they are subject to real estate taxes.
Right.
And so we were asked to abate those real estate taxes for that property when they leased it out to Six Flags.
Okay.
Could I just take a pause? We'll come back to you. Joe has had some institutional memory here. He's probably been here very long. Do you have any recollection of the board not participating in a TIF? Okay, that's fine. Okay, John, go ahead. Continue.
If the data center is what I think it is, those things are potential environmental disasters waiting to happen, and we should know about that before we would, at least I as a board member would want to know if that's the case here. The other thing is, after my last visit to an ICCTA meeting, I have done a reversal on AI, somewhat in line, I think, with some members of our board. And I am very, very reticent if this is the, I assume this is.
And I wasn't even there. I had to miss the meeting. So.
Paul, it was, I tried to be as nice as I could.
Oh my God.
But your replacement speaker talked about having an AI shadow board of directors to run things by, and he talked about putting the Doge guy and a few other people on this board, and he said, "Wouldn't you like the smartest people on the in the room to be part of this shadow board to give you direction on
Okay,
how?"
you're off topic here. You can do this under your comments, all right? Do you have anything else regarding this TIF, though?
Well, I was unimpressed, and I think we are years away.
So my comments on just TIF districts in general in this region is that sometimes the TIF dollars, they're supposed to be reinvested. Oh, thanks. Left my garbage back there. It doesn't always get applied to where it's supposed to get applied. So, and then second is that just to let you know, TIF districts were designed for blighted areas, for redeveloping areas that really need development. And the issue there was that like a really rundown area wouldn't have much, value for property tax. So what you're trying to do is cut them some slack for 20, 23 years until they can develop it. This is farmland, and I've always been opposed to using TIFs for well-developed area and for farmland. But I'm not going to necessarily argue the point. If the administration wants to support it, when will this come up? When will you be bringing this to us?
Well, the joint Board of Review meeting is March 31st, so the end of this month. But anyone is welcome to attend the public hearing on May 11th.
Okay.
So,
So there's a meeting that we can show up on the 31st, right?
Yes, that's the joint Board of Review
Yeah.
where the taxing bodies
And
meet.
then there's a public hearing in May. And then when would we be voting to participate in the TIF?
We don't vote. The
No
joint
vote.
Board of Review just provides guidance. It does not really make the
Okay.
decision whether a TIF exists or not.
Okay. All right. Trustee Nelson.
why not, is my question.
Well, if it was a tax abatement, we would vote on it. But on a TIF district, they're creating a special taxing area district, which isn't necessarily, we're not creating it, we're just a participant. Now, the abatement would affect directly because we don't lose anything in a TIF, except for the gain in the property tax that we might be getting. In an abatement, we're actually saying, oh, we're not going to take it part or all the taxes that are due us, and that way we have more input on it. Is that Joe, is that accurate? Okay. Okay. So,
I guess that's why we've never voted on a TIF.
Yeah. That's it. Well, sometimes we could take a vote. If the board really wanted to, we could put it on the agenda to show the board's vocal support for it or opposition, to it. It doesn't have an effective law, but it would go into the public record as a public statement. Yeah. And I'm not necessarily interested in doing that, but if enough of you want to, we can bring it up and put it on the agenda for a vote, but I'm not going to talk about that anymore right now. So any other questions on the TIF or on the schedule for it? All right, thank you. Any other new business?
Trustee Trojan brought up the idea of maybe using Zoom versus telephone for board member attendance by means other than physical presence.
Well, I got to tell you, being on the phone on the other end of this meeting is just horrendous. I mean,
It is.
I heard Heather very clear once we got going, but the foundation did a Zoom meeting, which I attended by Zoom, and you can see everybody, you can hear everybody, but this phone call thing is not good.
Is he waving or clapping back there to what Bob's saying? Okay, so you're good with it, right? You're good with it?
And there's at least a 20, 25-second delay in the actual live. So anyway, that's my comment.
What we talked about is that maybe next time around we could try the Zoom.
Right.
Yes, we can try the Zoom, and we'll just make sure that the audio is working for the Zoom, that it still captures everything.
Same time.
Yes. And so we can try that next time when we have a trustee attending by, board member attendance by means other than physical presence, okay?
However, I would encourage this not to be an excuse not to come to the meeting. In other words, I'm going to go do it by Zoom and
Well,
stay home.
technically, it's not supposed to based on law. This is an exception.
What?
You have to meet one of the legal reasons to participate.
Well, Joe, you used to not be able to do Zoom. Have we changed the law on that?
You can use Zoom to attend under the Open Meetings Act if there's a list of qualified
Well, I can't believe we don't, I thought we couldn't do Zoom in the past. And I'm a curmudgeon, but I'm not that much of a curmudgeon. I'm with Bob, another non-curmudgeon. And, sorry, Bob. Anyway.
I'm not a curmudgeon.
No,
Let's do it.
The law historically said you could join by phone when it was landline phones. But the phones today are digital. The Zoom, the Teams, that's all digital. So they've wrapped it all up into a telecommunications package. But you have to meet this list of one of those items in the requirement. Plus, we have to vote, if they meet it, we have to vote to let them in. Now, if we feel as a board that a trustee is abusing that right, we
can vote no.
We could vote no.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not encouraging that, but I'm just reminding you of your right that you could say no if you wanted to.
Yeah.
You know, Bob's only gone one meeting out of the year, so I'm not going to say no to that. And you're having a good time. Now, we're not going to probably do our retreat in Hawaii or Florida.
Oh.
But okay.
You got to come down to Florida for one of the board meetings. Come on.
So, but Zoom, let's move forward.
I don't know that we can do that.
Let's move forward with that. That's a great idea.
Okay, sounds great.
Any other new business,
Sure we
sir?
can.
No, that concludes.
Any unfinished business?
And no unfinished business at this time.
Okay. President's update. You been busy?
A little bit, but we're going to keep it simple today. Rock Valley College hosted its Workforce Collaborative on March 19th, 2026, bringing together industry partners, workforce development agencies, government representatives, and RVC leadership for a half day of structured dialogue. The event featured presentations and facilitated group discussions across 3 focus areas: artificial intelligence, customized training and development, and career technical education. 22 professionals from 15 industry partners, plus several Rock Valley College professionals attended the event. Sessions were led by Peter Held, Dean of Workforce Development, Grant Schubert, Executive Director of Customized Training and Development, and Chase Busniak, Dean, Career Technical Education. I want to thank Dr. Stewart and B. Miller and the Workforce Development Team, CT and Workforce Development Team for organizing the event. I plan to share a more detailed report at a later date. Also, I have been asked by the Illinois Council of Community College Presidents to be in Springfield tomorrow to be present at the meeting of the Illinois House Higher Education Executive Committee to potentially speak on the importance of community college baccalaureate degrees. Then on March 31st, I have been invited by the Executive Director of ICCB to represent the community college presidents to speak on the importance of funding community colleges during the meeting of the Illinois Senate's Appropriations Committee. Trustees, last thing is trustees will have an opportunity to continue this advocacy at the Trustees Lobby Day to be held May 6th in Springfield. Please let the President's office know if you would like to attend. And so far, Trustee Simpson has acknowledged that she would like to attend, and I believe Dr. Goldsmith will not be available to attend at that time. And this concludes my report. Thank you.
Any questions? Bob?
What was the outcome of your workforce collaborative thing? What kind of results can you speak
I'm going to provide that detail to you later, but it was very positive results. Industry leaders were, when it came to AI, it was mainly surface use, and they're still trying to figure out how the best to use it in their different areas, and they are looking for support and how we can help
Looking for
them.
education.
Yeah, so
There you go.
Well, see, the thing is, the best we use for industry is the back-end operation, not the desktop use for it.
Doesn't matter.
It's kind of
Doesn't matter where it's
back.
used.
something word.
Yeah.
So.
We want to be the educator.
Yeah, and I also say there's a gap in the marketing of customized training where we work directly with those on the floor or hands-on, and they get it, and we can make a call and they help. But from the HR perspective or professionals, they don't always know what we do. So we have to figure out a way to connect with the entire company and not just the main contacts on the floor.
Okay, if possible, I would like to see a list of the attendees, just in case I bump into them in the community and.
I have that with me now.
I mean,
can
right
try
now,
that.
but, you
Yeah,
know.
we can send that out, but I
Yeah.
have that with, I can share that.
I'd just be
tonight.
curious who attended.
I don't bump into anybody, so you can send it to me, but,
I have a question.
go ahead.
Or just, actually, would you refresh my memory? On May the 6th, is that like a morning, noon, or evening, or all-day thing?
It's typically all day. Well, in this situation, Jennifer being over this space would help us to meet with our legislators,
Okay.
similar to what we do with the students in April. And then at the end of that evening, there is a trustee reception that we do, that trustees do to invite all the legislators throughout the state there, and that's usually Lincoln Museum or somewhere like that for probably about 5 to 7, 5 to 8 time frame, and that's a really great event too. So you start with lobby day, you work your way through, and then at the end, you end with a nice reception of a lot of trustees and legislators coming together at that time. And the governor usually ends by speaking at that event, and then some other high-level legislators speak at that event as well.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right. Leadership team update.
All right. Well, good evening, trustees. A couple of quick updates for you this evening. This Friday, RVC will host its annual Sister to Sister Glow Girls Leading Our World Conference, Friday, March 27th, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the Stenstrom Student Center atrium. The Sister to Sister Conference is an empowering experience designed to support and uplift minority high school women as they prepare for their academic, personal, and professional futures. Centered around this year's theme is Lead Her Ship, steering your path as a woman leader. The conference encourages young women to see themselves as leaders of their own journeys, confidently navigating challenges, making informed decisions, and charting paths aligned with their goals and values. Next, RVC has been hosting the annual juried high school art exhibit, opened here on Wednesday, March 5th in the Educational Resource Center upstairs. The annual juried high school art exhibit opened on the 5th and runs through April 2nd. It is free to view during Estelle Black library hours, Monday through Thursday from 8 to 6, Friday from 8 till 5. It's a breathtaking art on display represented each of the high schools from across the RVC district and includes mediums such as ceramics, oil paintings, drawings, photography, sculpture, acrylics, jewelry, and more. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Good evening, trustees.
Hello.
At the March 10th Committee of the Whole meeting, the college introduced proposed revisions to the Board Policy Manual Article 3. As a reminder, if you have questions or suggestions, please submit this information to the Office of the President for review. Please note that the annual notification has gone out to both campus leaders and board members at the beginning of March, requesting completion of the Winnebago County Statement of Economic Interest. The purpose of the Statement of Economic Interest for Winnebago County is to promote transparency and ensure accountability by disclosing the financial interest of elected officials and certain employees, helping to prevent potential conflicts of interest. These responses are due by May 1st. And finally, the college will celebrate our retirees on Wednesday, May 20th at our annual retiree celebration. This event will be held in the Stenstrom Student Center atrium from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. We invite you to mark your calendars and join us as we show appreciation for our employees who have dedicated their time, expertise, and service to the RVC community. This concludes my report.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
I sent my yellow sheet of paper in yesterday for Winco.
Wonderful, thank you.
Heather?
Good evening. First enrollment, Summer 1 and Summer 2 registration opened on March 2nd, and fall registration opened the week of March 16th. Since summer overlaps 2 fiscal years, I have updates for both FY26 and FY27. As of this week, summer 1 enrollment is 34% behind last year, 54% to budget, and 52% to the stretch goal. Despite the current shortfall for summer 1, FY26 year-to-date credit hour enrollment is 3% ahead of last year, 6% ahead of budget, and 1% ahead of the stretch goal. Fiscal year 27 begins with summer 2. With classes starting June 15th, summer 2 enrollment is 2% behind last year, 65% to budget, and 63% to the stretch goal. Fall enrollment is having a strong start. Credit hours are currently 7% ahead of last year, 31% to budget, and 30% to the stretch goal. I'm going to add a little bit to Dr. Spearman's legislative update. On March 13th, our lobbyist, Dr. Letisa Wallace, shared an update from Springfield. The Senate Higher Education Committee convened to consider 2 measures relevant to Illinois colleges and universities. The first of these bills updates Illinois' Preventing Sexual Violence in Higher Education Act to address implementation gaps. The purpose of the second bill is to increase transparency regarding faculty teaching loads and instructional staffing patterns across Illinois colleges and universities. Regarding the Community College Baccalaureate, the Legislative Committee of the Illinois Community College Presidents is still hopeful the bill will go to committee this session. On March 12th, RVC hosted Next Rockford for their regular meeting in the Health Sciences Center. Next Rockford is a group of next-generation leaders who advocate for improvement in education, the business environment, and urban development in the Rockford region. The members of Next Rockford learned more about the college from Dr. Amanda Smith, heard all the latest about Downtown West and CL2 renovations from Rick Jenks, discovered scholarship and giving opportunities from Brittany Freiberg, and got all the details about Starlight's 60th anniversary season from Jen Thompson. The group was impressed with the college and excited about the information that was shared. We also had a site visit from the SBDC. On March 13th, the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity Office of the Small Business Development's State Network Director, Erica White, visited the RVC campus. The meeting was an in-person status meeting and part of the Illinois Small Business Administration accreditation process. During this meeting, Ms. White went over our FY26 application for continued SBDC funding, which was approved for our full request of $160,000. This funding will provide support for small business owners and entrepreneurs served by the SBDC at RVC. Additionally, Ms. White provided a summary of what to expect at the fall accreditation meeting. Thank you to Nancy McDonald and Nate Jordan for running a successful SBDC program and planning a smooth visit. Finally, I'd like to recognize our marketing department for winning some awards. 3 projects placed in the 41st Annual Educational Advertising Awards, which is the largest educational advertising awards competition in the country. This year, over 2,000 entries were received from over 1,000 colleges, universities, and secondary schools from all 50 states and numerous foreign countries. The RVC Downtown West outdoor signage won gold in the outdoor category. The Your Pathway to RVC commercial won gold in the television advertising series category, and the RVC Athletics Viewbook won bronze in the student viewbook category. In addition, at the March National Council for Marketing and Public Relations Paragon Awards Dinner, we were presented with a bronze Paragon for our Career Technical Education Viewbook. This viewbook was made possible through Make It in Illinois grant funding. Kudos to Brent Jepson, multimedia content creator, and Gabby Margagula, Director of Marketing, for their work on these projects. I would also like to thank Darren Monroe for his collaboration on the Athletics Viewbook, and Peter Held, Chase Budziak, and Grant Schubert for their collaboration on the CTE Viewbook. Thank you.
Wow, what a report.
Any questions?
Yeah, 2 things. You should bring the marketing department one of these days and bring them in, and like you do with the sports winners.
Who will take their picture? I said, who will take their
I'll take their
picture?
picture.
Okay.
Bob will take the picture.
But I'd have a question. Just curious, the next Rockford group, how many were there, and was this their first time on campus?
It was their first time, and Jen, do you know how many people were there?
I don't think it was their first time, though.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think,
Some of them, it was their first time, but not all.
but not the actual organization. We've hosted them in here before.
That's what I mean, the actual organization.
Yeah.
Okay, just curious.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Congratulations.
Yeah, bring that team down here.
Dr. Stewart, do you have no
Bring a
report?
T-shirt with it. We'll see.
Ellen, any report? Okay.
I will say with Dr. Smith, she's not here, but we did have an early childhood education accreditation, NACI accreditation site visit, and it went really, really well. It's a 2-day visit, but we will not find out the results for another probably 6 months. But I do thank the team for coordinating, Isabel and Dean Takesha Lambert for coordinating the visit. They did a great job.
All right. Well, thank you. So that ends it for the leadership team update?
Yes, sir.
So I'm making an agenda change. We're going to take the ICTA trustees report, student trustee report, and RVC Foundation liaison report after our closed session. So I expect when you leave to watch it on YouTube recorded video so you can't miss a word of what we said, okay? All right, so personnel report BR 8365, just for reading into, and the Freedom of Information of Act request, FOIA report. All righty. The next date, the next committee of the whole is April 14th, 2026, 5:15. Meeting held in the Performing Arts Center, PAR Room 0214, located Educational Resource Center. Date of the next regular and reorganization meeting is April 28th, 2026, 5:15 p.m. The meeting will be held in the Performing Arts Room, PAR 0214, located in the Educational Resource Center. Here, do I entertain a motion to adjourn to closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, specific individuals who serve as independent contractors in a park, recreational, educational setting per section 2C1 and/or 2, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for more than one classes, for section 2C2, and/or security procedures and the use of personnel and equipment to respond to actual, threatened, or a reasonable potential danger to safety employees, students, staff, public, or public property per section 2C8, all in accordance with the Illinois Open Meetings Act.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by
Blake.
and seconded by Nelson. Roll call.
Nelson?
Yes.
Goldsmith, yes. Simpson? Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Trojan?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
Gorski?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're going to have 2 sections of this, I think. And so who do you want to do the speaker?
We would have John Wicker here and Joe, and I'm forgetting your last name. Grambin.
Now, John will take it personally if you don't go to YouTube and watch his ICTA reports or his trustee report, okay? So please.
You don't want to make